My brother brought his fiancée to my graduation party to meet the family, which turned out to be a terrible idea because the minute that woman walked through the door, she was bombarded. And everybody had the same question. So, when are you having kids? Nobody asked her what she studied in college or how she met my brother, and the worst part is, everyone was paying attention to her instead of me at my own party. Luckily, though, she kept her cool. She told them that she just wasn't ready for the mental repercussions of being a mom. And even though she was kind of joking and the family was kind of joking, I mean, were they really? What exactly are the mental repercussions of parenthood? So today, we will first take a deep dive into the concept of baby fever. We will then take a magnifying glass to the brain during pregnancy, and finally, we will break the silence on an issue that is unfortunately just overlooked, the reality of postpartum depression. So it goes without saying that my family had a bad case of baby fever at my grad party, which a few OBGYNs in Minnesota in 2022 describe as a colorful way to explain the emotion of wanting to have or be around a baby. And in the real world, you can find countless social media posts. One user, DynaWoolVR, shares her feelings with complete transparency. She says, baby fever went crazy this day. I have no urge to have children, but in this moment, that all went out the window. She literally admits that she has no intention of having kids, but the dopamine just took over. The OBGYNs go on with the interesting caveat that external factors can make all the difference. Baby fever does exist in both men and women, but it's not so easily explained after that. People surrounded by the positive aspects of babies, looking at small baby clothes and baby toys, and seeing adorable babies and parent-child interactions, have an increase in their longing to have a baby. People who focus on the more negative aspects of babies, unpleasant smells, crying children, are less likely to experience baby fever and may even feel an aversion to the thought of having a baby. However, those who are hit the hardest with baby fever may fall victim to a condition known as pseudocyesis, or a phantom pregnancy. And no, it's not this. No, ladies, your uterus is not haunted, I promise. The Cleveland Clinic in 2022 explains that patterns can appear that merely suggest a pregnancy, like morning sickness or weight gain. However, the weirdest symptom by far is an enlarged stomach. According to the National Library of Medicine, that anomaly of nature can be attributed to a ton of different factors, which I couldn't pronounce even if I really wanted to. When the brain tells the rest of the body that it's time to have a baby, all of the regular pregnancy hormones kick in. And men, don't fret, because you're not missing out. Matter of fact, this very stomach you've been looking at this entire time is attached to a man. An article by the Fatherly Newsletter in 2019 cites Gary L. Brace, a PhD student at Kansas State University, when explaining why men experience baby fever, and really there's 3 reasons. Not wanting to be at odds with their partner who does want a baby, becoming more financially stable with age and wanting support during retirement, and wanting to put something on earth to continue their legacy. Someone to hold the flashlight during nighttime car fixes, who's only doing it wrong because she's trying her best through a wall of tears. So now that we know why baby fever occurs for both men and women, let's discuss what happens to the brain when the body is actually pregnant. It's called pregnancy brain. Real clever, I know. As defined by maternal fetal specialist Abdulaziz Saleh with Akron Children's in 2020, pregnancy brain is a process in which the woman's actual brain cells don't change, but the environment around them does. During pregnancy, the body sends out a ton of hormones. In his words, it's like a truckload of different sizes and flavors that affect all different kinds of neurons in the brain. Things like forgetting to go to an appointment that you scheduled is common. However, I can't wait to share with you this amazing post that I found on X. Walt Theodore posits that giving birth isn't as painful as being kicked in the nuts. And Anna Love XO, trying to corner him in his argument, asks, well, have you had a baby? And he says no, but over the years, women say, let's have another one. I've never heard a man say, come on, hit me in the nuts again. And you know what? Walt is absolutely right. And that's because of pregnancy brain. PsychCentral.com cites gynecology professor Ulla Waldenstrom, who conducted a survey wherein 1,383 women were asked how they remember the birth of their children on a pain scale. And just about 50% of them reported having memories of little to no pain only 5 years after the birth. Waldenstrom continues to say that healthcare professionals take the woman's overall experience into account. The woman's recollection of labor pain may also help guide the content of postnatal support in order to avoid long-term effects on well-being. She means that this split down the middle is directly reflected by the number of hospitals and support systems that ensure that their new mothers are happy and taken care of. It's just simply that treatment during childbirth and the actual delivery start to blend together in the head after so much time. So finally, what is left when there are no more baby dopamine hits and the rose-colored glasses come off? When you can't sleep for days on end and the sound of crying makes you feel like you're going crazy. At this point, many will begin to feel the effects of postpartum depression. As defined by the Mayo Clinic in 2022, postpartum depression is a myriad of intense emotions of sadness, anger, and anxiety after having a baby. It's caused by a major drop in the hormones estrogen and progesterone that kick into overdrive during pregnancy. But after the baby comes out, the body just gets depressed. Dr. Kimberly Langdon at The Ohio State University shares some statistics about the precise reach of postpartum depression. The important things to note in her article on postpartumdepression.org are as follows. 50% of women affected by postpartum depression go undiagnosed. Women under 25 years old are 7% more likely to be affected. The racial group most affected is American and Alaskan Natives at 16.6%. 50% of men with an affected partner will develop symptoms themselves, and even adoptive parents can develop symptoms, albeit at lesser rates. And within these percentages, there are 3 further distinctions as far as intensity. The first is baby blues, which affects a whopping 85% of people in postpartum, the depressive episodes. Then there's postpartum depression at 15%, the longer and more intense depressive episodes that come on and off for about 3 months. Finally, postpartum psychosis, occurring in 1 in 1,000 cases. This is what happens to women who end up on national news for neglecting their children or worse. And if 1 in 1,000 doesn't sound like a lot, listen to this. Roughly 4,000 children are born in Iowa every year. That's roughly 40 mothers living and dealing with these sickening thoughts and frightening emotions just within the borders of Iowa. And if you're raising an eyebrow at any of those statistics, that's because it is new research for a phenomenon that is centuries old. The Carver College of Medicine states that it wasn't officially recognized as a medical condition until 1994, which means that none of that support and none of that evidence was there for my mom, who started having kids in 1990. My mother silently suffered with postpartum depression for weeks. She stopped finding the motivation to get out of bed. Her ex-husband told her to stop being dramatic and suck it up, Buttercup. And her friends told her that her son was so sweet and why she didn't seem more excited to be with him every day. Those were the words that thousands of people heard. Those are the words that thousands of people heard before any attention was given to postpartum depression. All of these people were struggling, and yet none of them spoke up out of fear of being told that they were only complaining. Now, 30 years later in 2024, mental health research is expanding endlessly. We now have genetic screenings, crisis hotlines, and authentic websites that don't sugarcoat or gaslight. Organizations like Postpartum Support International, March of Dimes, and the Alexis Joy Foundation have made it their mission to make sure that nobody ever feels alone or worthless in their postpartum journey. Give any of these organizations a call if you want to help. And if there is somebody in your life who's trying to raise a baby right now, consider offering to babysit and help that 85% go down to 60, then to 25, and eventually 0. So today, we first took a deep dive into the concept of baby fever. We then took a magnifying glass to the brain during pregnancy, and finally, we broke the silence on an issue that is really just overlooked, the reality of postpartum depression. So if there was anything positive about my brother's plan at my graduation party, it's the knowledge that my future sister-in-law is completely justified, whether she decides to have kids now or wait to have kids or never have kids at all. The important thing is the option to choose. Thank you.